Welcome in, everybody. It is Diddy trial day 25. I'm Pugs Moran. This is Diddy or Didn't He here on Radio Misfits, radiomisfits.com. We do this every day. The trial of Sean Diddy Combs, rap, hip hop, business, impresario, top of the media elite food chain here in modern American culture, is on trial for his life, literally. The prosecution is trying to convict him of things that would have him spend the better part of the rest of his life in prison. We are at day 25. As I say, we cover it every single day. Like, follow, subscribe. I'll tell you all of the little dirty details that are being. They got to watch porn today. Yeah, the jury today got to watch like a whole bunch of porn. They watched like 5 minutes of freak off video, which I can only imagine that within the next couple of years, we'll start to find on the different porn tube sites that are around. We'll see freak off videos. Oh, I'm certain of it at some point. I don't know if I will. I live in Texas. We don't really get porn anymore down here. Yeah, well, what are you going to do? I'm an old man anyway. It's not really my thing these days. But let's get back to the trial. Today, once again, we heard from Agent Penland most of the day. Agent Penland was she's an agent in the Southern District of New York, the U.S. Attorney's Office. And what her job is to sit on the stand and basically give the jury and those of us watching a timeline, sort of an order of how things went down. We've heard a whole bunch of testimony from a whole bunch of different people, and it hasn't been in order. We've heard testimony about things that happened in 2013, and then things on a trip in 2020, and then things that happened on New Year's Eve in 2015. You know, all different people telling different stories about their interactions with Diddy. We've seen from all of these different people text messages. We've heard video, audio. We've seen it all. So Agent Penland's job, and yesterday, if you were listening to the panel show that I did with Headcrack and James Parker, yesterday I was kind of the opinion that Agent Penland was kind of a bore, kind of, this is very forensic. We're not getting a whole lot of nitty gritty details for us to chew on. But here we are. Penland is done. Agent Penland is done. And I think that she has been the most useful of all the witnesses that we have had. She certainly did the best job of trying to establish what the prosecution's case is. The prosecution has now had 4 weeks of presenting their case. They've had 4 weeks of their witnesses coming up on the stand and theoretically providing the outline for the case for the prosecution, but they've all been completely destroyed by defense. So it hasn't really, the witnesses haven't really been good for the prosecution. At least that's been my takeaway watching it all these days. Agent Penland was good for the prosecution. Agent Penland gave us a timeline. It said, and then this happened, and then 3 months later, then this person texted Diddy about this. So it really kind of helped me as somebody who's been incredibly confused. And as closely as I'm following this, I can only imagine a few people are listening to me try and convey what's happening, that you're probably confused too. So Agent Penland did a really good job. And to that end, what we're going to do today is we're going to talk about all the things that were discussed, cross-examine and then direct examine, all of that of Agent Penland. But what we're really going to drill down on is the video. We've all seen the video, right? We've seen the video, the Hotel Intercontinental back in 2016. This was following a freak off where Diddy can be seen beating Cassie senseless, ragdolling her, throwing her around in the hallway. This was where all of the Diddy stuff really started in earnest. It was when CNN got a hold of that tape from 2016 and aired it about a year ago now. So what we're going to do today is what happened. Like, we see the video. The video is only like 30 seconds or something. What happened in the minute after that? What happened in the 5 minutes after that? What happened in the hour after that? What happened 10 hours after that video? What was going on in Diddy world? So today we're going to break that down. Agent Penland gave us a very nice timeline of what happened. This happened at 9:30. This happened at 9:45. At 10:30, the police showed up. At 11, Diddy was texting Cassie. At noon, Cassie was, so we're going to run through that. All right. Also, I can tell you, what do we have to look forward to in the trial? The trial, the prosecution side of it is wrapping. The prosecution believes that they're going to be done presenting their case by Friday. So heading into the weekend, it's going to be the defense is up. And the defense has said now that they're, maybe a week, maybe 2 weeks, not that much. Defense doesn't feel like they've got to do a whole lot of heavy lifting. It's time. The defense, in my opinion, and in many other people's opinions as well, I've had to look around and see it. Am I on an island here? Am I the only one who thinks that this is a completely one-sided victory for Diddy in this trial? But no, there are other people who agree with me that the defense is doing an incredible job. Well, they've done this incredible job playing defense. Now the defense is going to go on offense. Coming up, we're going to hear from Brendan Paul. He is another former assistant of Diddy. Brendan Paul earlier took the fifth, so as not to incriminate himself. What happens in situations like this where witnesses who are needed by the prosecution, if they intend to take the fifth, a judge will then sign an immunity order, which will allow them to testify and not have to take the fifth and actually say they've now got immunity from all the things that they're going to admit to doing. So we're going to hear from Brendan Paul. He's got immunity. It says the prosecution's final witness is going to be a law enforcement agent. He is expected to testify most of Wednesday before the prosecution rests. The trial will take Thursday off, so there will be no show on Thursday. Defense attorney Mark Agnifilo, the lead defense attorney there for Diddy, Team Diddy, says 3 witnesses are lined up for the defense. And it says he expected to start the defense on Friday. But we know that that's different now. That we know that the prosecution says that they're going to take all day Friday and that they expect to rest their case on Friday. The judge was a little bit pissed off today. Judge Aram Subramaniam, who I think has been an absolute beast. He's been a terrific judge. No nonsense in this trial, at least nothing that I can. I'm trying to think of what was the most no, every time somebody tried to pull some nonsense in this trial, Judge Subramaniam, he regulated. And so he had to do that again today. He was a little bit pissed off. Where do we have this? Judge Aram Subramanian reprimanded the defense attorneys and the prosecutors this morning over an article that he said revealed details of a sealed proceeding that was held last Friday. Okay, so Judge Aram Subramanian woke up today drinking his coffee. He opens up the newspaper and he sees an article in the newspaper that reveals some details that were private details that were discussed with the judge and the defense and the prosecution in private. And so the judge is like, who's talking? One of you assholes is talking, right? So the judge was pissed. Subramanian said, somebody is lying, because both sides claim that we don't know anything about it, Judge. We didn't talk. We don't know nothing about it. So a pissed off Subramanian said, well, somebody is lying. After lawyers from both sides said that they didn't know anything about this. Lawyers bending the truth. Judge Subramanian then warned both sides that he would seize their devices and compel people to testify under oath if any other violations occur. He's going to take their phones. The judge is going to take the prosecutors and the defense. He's going to take their phones and he's going to have them, they're going to figure out who they're texting with. Who are they talking to? Who's in contact with reporters? Judge Aram Subramanian, he's a badass. Okay, again today we heard from Delicia Pendlin. Okay, she's continued. We were thinking we were going to hear from Brendan Paul today, that's Diddy's assistant, but no, we didn't hear from him. Another issue before trial started today was yesterday's dismissal of juror number 6. Juror number 6 is a 41-year-old black male who lied about where he was living. The judge didn't like his answers. Thought he was a little sus, so the judge got rid of juror number 6. Juror number 6 has been replaced. Juror number 6, a 41-year-old black man who stated in his interview to get on the jury that he was a big fan of 90s hip-hop. So you would think that would be somebody that Diddy might want on the jury. Well, he's gone, and he's been replaced by a 57-year-old white guy. Well, so not good, not good. But the defense demanded of the judge yesterday. The defense said, okay, fine, if you're getting rid of number 6, we need to know what the other jurors were told about why juror number 6 is gone, right? All right, so Yesterday, defense attorney Alexandra Shapiro asked Judge Subramanian what the other judges were told about juror number 6's dismissal. Today, Judge said the other jurors were told that juror number 6 was excused and they couldn't discuss the circumstances around it. And the jurors were not allowed to discuss it amongst themselves. Well, how do you stop that? Judge Subramanian told the parties they would handle another separate issue with juror number 7 at the end of trial today. So that means we'll hear about that tomorrow, because in closed, there's another juror who might get replaced as well. And this is not a big deal. People are like, mistrial. No, they planned for this. This is why they have like a whole bunch of reserve jurors. They're ready for this. So apparently there's an issue now with juror number 7. Remember, juror number 6 has been replaced. Juror number 6 lied about his address. He claimed he was living in Brooklyn when in fact he lives in New Jersey. So judge said, you're gone. There is a new issue with juror number 7. We don't know what that is, but we'll probably hear about that tomorrow. Okay, so let's get into today's testimony. Delicia Penland, a special agent with the Southern District of Manhattan, the U.S. Attorney's Office. She is here to provide some kind of context for all the various forms of evidence that we've seen, whether they're text messages or videos or phone calls and all of that stuff. The jury saw records for flight and hotel reservations for an escort named Jules to travel from Los Angeles to New York City in August of 2009. This hotel reservation and flight was paid for on Sean Combs' American Express. Now, this is very important testimony, and this was a big moment here for the prosecution, because they need to prove that his entire business was a criminal conspiracy. So they need to provide examples of, through the course of Diddy running Diddy Worldwide or Diddy Global or whatever this corporation was that he oversaw, they need to show examples of him breaking the law. Sex trafficking is one of the charges that they need to prove. Well, they can make a case for sex trafficking here. Again, the jury saw records for flight and hotel reservations for an escort named Jules to travel from Los Angeles to New York. Diddy paid to fly a prostitute multiple states. Federal crime, crossing, sex trafficking. He paid an illegal sex act. He paid for prostitution and then flew them across the country. That's trafficking for sex purposes. So this was a pretty big deal. Now, it was paid for on Sean Combs' American Express. So there has been some discussion now. We've heard from various witnesses. Well, how were you paid? Were you paid off of Diddy's personal funds? Were you paid off of his business cards? So were these hotel rooms that were booked for freak-offs? Were they engaged in illegal activities? Were they paid for with Diddy's corporate card, or were they paid for with Diddy's personal card? These are things we're going to have to find out. And Agent Penland was trying to sort of give us a little rundown of what we're looking at there. Delicia Penland also walked the jury through records that related to a September 2014 hotel stay in L.A. The records included charges on Diddy Combs' American Express card for a routine trip flight from New York City to Los Angeles for a man referred to as Dave. Dave is believed to be another escort. He's been mentioned by other witnesses. So here we have a second example of Diddy potentially using his company funds to fly sex workers, between states. The card on file, it says here, belonged to Combs. The credit card statement with those charges was paid off by 5 different bank accounts, including some link to Bad Boy Entertainment and Combs Enterprises. All right. He is using company funds to pay for these illegal sex trafficking. And that is legitimately what sex trafficking is. Moving someone from one place to another for illegal sexual purposes. And if this person is a paid escort, that is an illegal sexual purpose. So now we're starting to see the prosecution show. Now, these are things that the jury might look at and go, well, that is just flat out sex trafficking, and he paid for it with his business card. That does show that this business is a conspiracy, that they're racketeering. They're engaging in racketeering. This is all a racket. He's making money through the rackets. All right. Jury then sees messages between Diddy and a contact called New York Strip. So this is Diddy texting directly with somebody who goes by the name of New York Strip. It is believed New York Strip is an escort agency. The jury saw messages between Diddy and a contact called New York Strip a couple of days before the December 2009 freak-off hotel stay. Combs texted repeatedly to this person, trying to set up a time for a, quote, massage. Then he texted, "Can you let me know if there's a problem so I have time to get her another present?" All right, so he was saying he needed a male escort for a massage, and this is a present for somebody. And then it goes on to reveal that later in the conversation, both people texting, Diddy and New York Strip, both inquire as to whether the other is a cop. So, that's circumstantial. But, the jury's like, okay, so he's obviously talking. This is an escort. This is how prostitution works. Are you a cop? All right. So that was just some of the things that Penland talked about. And those were two really important things, because to me, as an independent observer, I'm trying to put myself in the place of someone on the jury. I hear that and I'm like, okay, he's obviously engaging in illegal activities, and that's a Bad Boy Entertainment credit card. Boom, boom, boom. These are good points for the prosecution. Good job, prosecution. Now let's get into Agent Penland breaking down the beating video and what happened through text messages. Because, you see that video and you're like, well, what did they do afterwards? They all go to lunch? Did they all just forget about it? No, they were freaking out. All of Diddy's security people were texting furiously. His assistants were texting. Everybody was trying to get a hold of Cassie. Diddy was freaking out. You had people who were approaching the security guards. All right, so let's go through the timeline. Diddy called Cassie Ventura 3 times around 11:36 a.m., but she did not. Now, you have to understand that this beating took place like at 10 o'clock in the morning. Okay, the hotel video beating where we see it's like 10 o'clock in the morning. They've been a long all-night freak-off with Jules. Jules was the escort who was participating in this freak-off. So at 11:30, Diddy called Cassie 3 times, but she didn't answer. She's not answering. I'm not answering, asshole. She's mad at him. Shortly after, she did then call him back twice. Each call lasted about a minute. So I imagine those calls where he calls her 3 times, she ignores him. And then she's like, yeah, but she's pissed. She's mad. She's been beat up. And she's like, I'm going to talk to him. So then twice she called him. And those calls lasted 1 minute. So I imagine those calls were all, you motherfucker, like that, and then click. So that's what's going on between Diddy and Cassie in the immediate aftermath of the beating. Combs then called her back 3 times without an answer and texted her, call me now. All right, so he's being demanding after he just beat her up. Ventura responded. Remember, this is all going on around 11:36, so this is about an hour or so after the beating. Ventura responded, all right, when Combs texted her, call me now, she texted back, quote, I went and checked everything and spoke to security. Jules left. Remember, Jules is the male prostitute. Jules left, so you're good. And as long as you don't disturb the other guests, they'll leave you be. So understand that an hour after Cassie Ventura got the shit beat out of her by Diddy and was shown on the video, was captured on video, and by the way, other guests were complaining about what they were hearing, so security was alerted. So within the hour of that happening, Cassie is already going into damage control mode, and she is speaking with hotel security. Like when she left the hotel, I guess she talked to security. So Diddy texts her. He's calling her. She's not answering. So he texts her, call me now. She doesn't call him now. She texts him back. I went and checked everything and spoke to security. Jules left, so you're good. And as long as you don't disturb the other guests, they're going to leave you be. She's handling shit for him. Combs called her twice again shortly after, and she didn't answer. He then texted her, "Call me now," and "Call me, the cops are here." So she's now ignoring him, okay? So now we're at like 12:08, all right? Combs calls her 3 times at 12:08 p.m. shortly after sending the message about the police being there. At 12:09, Ventura calls Combs' former security guard, Damian Butler, D-Rock. All right, so Diddy at 12:08, the cops are here. Call me now. She doesn't call him. She calls D-Rock. Probably feels more comfortable with D-Rock. Probably has a good relationship with D-Rock. D-Rock is Diddy's chief of security. At 12:09, Ventura calls Combs' former security guard, D-Rock. At 12:10, Combs texted. See, again, we don't know what they talked about because we don't have a recording of it. All we do is have the record that she made this call to this number, and that D-Rock's number. So we know they talked. So 12:09, she calls D-Rock. Diddy's talking about the police being there. At 12:10, Diddy texted Cassie, "You gonna abandon me all alone?" And then he called her twice. She didn't answer. He then texted her, "Call me, please." He's begging. He is spinning. All right, it's 12:10. At 12:11, Cassie texted Diddy back. Here's what she said. "I have a premiere Monday for the biggest thing that I've ever done in my life. I have a black eye and a fat lip. It was time for me to go. You are sick for thinking it's okay to do what you've done. Please stay far away from me." Ventura texted Diddy. So it's now 12:10. Remember, she got the shit beat out of her 2 hours ago. Okay? Both Combs and D-Rock, remember D-Rock is security, both Combs and D-Rock called Cassie after that message, and she didn't answer either of their calls. Ventura did, however, then call D-Rock back, and they were on the phone for less than 2 minutes. So she sends the, "I have a premiere. I can't believe you would do this to me." She sends that as a text. Please stay far away from me. She sends that in a text. All right. Diddy responds by calling her immediately, twice. She doesn't answer. Then D-Rock calls her twice. She doesn't answer. So you got to imagine D-Rock and Diddy are sitting next to each other, right? But she does call D-Rock back, okay? And she does speak to him for less than 2 minutes. And I imagine she calls D-Rock back, and D-Rock is sitting next to Diddy, and she's talking, and D-Rock's got it on speaker because of course he does, because he works for Diddy. So he's got it on speaker. Cassie knows that Diddy's sitting right there. Call lasted 2 minutes because Diddy probably said something, and she started screaming, and then all of a sudden it's 2 minutes and the phone's hung up. So that's what's going on. Both Combs and D-Rock call Ventura after she sends the message about it being the biggest thing of her career and she's got a black eye. Both Combs and D-Rock call Ventura after that message. Ventura then called D-Rock back. They were on the phone for less than 2 minutes. After that 2 minutes, Diddy texted her again, "Call me," followed by "help." Combs called Ventura multiple times over the next 10 minutes, with Ventura answering once for about 34 seconds. This is boyfriend-girlfriend stuff. This is boyfriend-girlfriend fighting. We've all been here. We're hanging up on each other. Sometimes we're answering. Sometimes we're not. So we're furiously dialing. Are they going to pick up? Maybe. We've all been through this. Combs called. This does not sound. She is a victim of having terrible choices in men. That's what she is. That's what she is. She should have left. She should know. This guy is not a good dude to be a girlfriend to. Again, I keep saying the word agency. All of these women appear to have some form of agency, which means that they can't be victims. They can't be kidnapped. They can't be doing things against their will. A free-minded body agency means that you're making choices based on the information that you have, choices that are in your best interest. You cannot convict Diddy if you think that these women have agency in the relationship. It just means that they stayed in a terrible relationship far longer than any normal person would. And they stayed long enough to be able to document all of this stuff. Is he a bad guy? Yeah. Again, is he an international sex trafficker who deserves to be in prison for 100 years? No. He's a celebrity jerk. It's what he is. Combs called Ventura multiple times over the next 10 minutes, with Ventura answering once for about 34 seconds. During that time, Ventura also called D-Rock twice. We're at 12:19 p.m. We are 2 hours since the beating. 12:19 p.m. 12:19. I'm about to be arrested, Diddy sends to Cassie, followed by thanks. I mean, my God, look at that. I'm about to be arrested for beating the shit out of you. Thanks. It's infantile. It's Machiavellian. There's like all kinds of, wow. He called her again before texting her, if you don't pick up, you'll never hear my voice again. So now he's getting mad. Rubber's hitting the road, and Diddy is not handling it well. Combs called Cassie 5 more times in the next half hour. All right, so now we're up to like 1 o'clock in the afternoon. Combs called Cassie 5 more times in the next half hour, but none of the calls were answered. KK, remember KK, Christina Karam. Christina Karam is Diddy's chief of staff. She sort of spins the plates that keeps his universe afloat. KK also called Cassie once during that period, and that call was not answered either. Once. I like it once. I like that KK only called once. You got Diddy furiously calling like 10 times, D-Rock's calling 5 times, and then, Diddy's like, KK, get on this. Come on, talk to Cassie. And she just calls once. She's like, yeah, I called once. She didn't pick up. What do you want me to do, Diddy? I don't want to get involved in this nonsense. I called her once. She'll call me back. She's got a lot going on. She just got the shit kicked out of her. I don't know if you saw. Combs called Ventura 5 more times in the next half hour, but none of the calls were answered. KK also called Cassie once during that period. That call was also not answered. Let's go to 2:30 p.m. 2:30 p.m., Ventura texts KK. KK called her about an hour earlier, and she didn't answer. At 2:30, Cassie texts KK saying, this is crazy. He won't stop. Please tell him the neighbors are about to call the police. Now, this is Cassie texting Diddy's chief of staff, KK. This is crazy. He won't stop. Please tell him the neighbors are about to call the police. I don't know the content. What is she talking about? Because Cassie is not with Diddy at this moment. Is Cassie talking about the neighbors in the hotel? Is Cassie calling? Is Cassie checking in with hotel security to see that everything's okay? Because when Diddy's saying the police are here, is she then calling security and going, hi, I'm the girl that was just involved by the police? I think she is. And I think that's what she means when she tells KK, this is crazy. He won't stop. Like, is he raging in the hotel and the other guests are hearing this? This is crazy. He won't stop. Please tell him the neighbors are about to call the police. I don't know. KK responds to this text from Cassie that she's got him and that they were going down the elevator. So that seems to me that KK's like, yeah, I'm with him. We're leaving the hotel. We're going down the elevator. I got him. I think. I don't know. I'm trying to work through this. D-Rock then said to KK in a text, tell him he needs to get out of there before they call the police. All right, so now his head of security, D-Rock, he's down with this. He's like, get him out of there. He's raging in the hotel. It's been 2.5 hours. The police haven't come yet, but they will come. Get him out of there. Ventura was back at her apartment. Ventura and her former best friend, Carrie Morgan, both testified earlier in the trial that Combs went to Ventura's apartment after he left the hotel. So we hear KK's got him. They're in the elevator. D-Rock's get him out of there. The police are coming. So they're getting him out of the Intercontinental. And where does he go? Well, we heard a couple of weeks ago when Carrie Morgan was on the stand. Carrie Morgan is one of Cassie's model friends. Carrie Morgan said she was over at Cassie's house, Cassie's apartment, when Diddy showed up. Again, Diddy's paying for this apartment, but look, okay. It's her place. I know he's paying for it. This is her place, though. Right? You gotta allow that. You can't just pay the rent and be like, you can't be a dick like that. Apparently he was. Ventura and her former best friend, Carrie Morgan, both testified that Combs then went to Ventura's apartment after Ventura left the hotel, after they left the hotel. Ventura texted KK, Please take away whatever keys he thinks he has. So Cassie's at her apartment. She knows that Diddy's on the move. He's probably coming to her apartment. So Cassie texts KK, the chief of staff, take his keys. He thinks he's got keys to this apartment. He probably does. He's probably his apartment. And KK's like, take the keys away from him. Don't let him come over here. Please take away whatever keys he thinks he has. Then at 3 p.m., so now we're at 3 p.m., KK texts D-Rock that she got him back to his Los Angeles home. So at 3 p.m., KK is telling Chief of Security that Diddy is back in his Los Angeles home and that he is not on his way over to Cassie's apartment. Okay, well, we'll find out. After more unanswered calls from Combs to Cassie, KK texted Cassie. Here's what KK texted Cassie after 3 p.m. Talk to him. He promised me he won't go back over if you will just talk to him for 5 minutes. And she added, sorry, don't want to be in the middle. Just don't want him to go back over. Oh, what is that? Is that slang? Is that some sort of like urban lingo, hip hop lingo? Go back over? I don't know what that means. Talk to him. He promised me he won't go back over. Talk to him. He promised me he won't go back over if you will just talk to him for 5 minutes. Sorry, don't want to be in the middle. Just don't want him to go back over. Is that like lose his shit? Is that what that means? I don't know. I don't understand. I don't know. All right. Between 4:49 p.m. Remember the beatdown occurred about 10 a.m. At 4:49 that day. Oh, it says here between 4:49 and 5:15. Calls between Combs and Ventura connect for 18 and 10 minutes. So they're talking. Okay, they're talking. At 5:30 p.m., Cassie and Diddy, their assistant, Ellie Maroon, it says 5:30 p.m., Cassie Ventura and Sean Diddy Combs' assistant, Ellie Maroon, were on 2 calls. All right, so at 5:30, Cassie's talking to one of Diddy's assistants, Ellie, who we haven't heard from. At 5:30, Cassie is talking to Ellie Maroon, where they were on 2 calls together. The first one started around 5:30. Shortly after that, there were about 4 other calls between Cassie and Diddy. All right, so Cassie had 2 calls at 5:30 with Diddy's assistant. Maybe this assistant, maybe it was just good timing. It's now 6 hours. She's calmed down a little. But this assistant seems to have brokered a willingness on Cassie to talk to Diddy. And that's what occurred next. So at 5:30, Cassie is talking to Diddy's assistant, Elle. And then shortly after, Cassie and Diddy begin to speak on the phone. Okay, for 18 and 10 minutes. At 5:52 p.m., KK texted Ellie. KK is the chief of staff. Ellie is a personal assistant. Diddy's got a whole team of personal assistants, but he's only got one KK. So KK at 5:52 texts Ellie, the assistant, and she says, I'm going to ask just to cover the damages. So in this text exchange, KK and Ellie seem to be doing damage control at the hospital or at the hotel. They're trying to figure out, we don't want to make this a big deal. How much money do you need to cover? So that's KK telling her, I'm going to ask just to cover the damages. She then sends to Ellie, who it appears that Ellie is at the hotel dealing with security. KK texts to Ellie, he, meaning Diddy, he wants to speak to the Spanish security guard. This is Eddie Garcia, or Eddie Perez. Eddie Garcia. I think it's Eddie Garcia. This is Eddie Garcia, the security guard who took the buyout, or the money. Took a little bit, took $100,000, or I think he got like 30 grand of it. Bought a used car. He got 30 grand of it. Yeah. So at 5:52, KK texts Diddy's assistant that Diddy wants to speak to the Spanish security guard, Eddie. She then texts to Ellie, say they had a fun drunk night to try and get more info. So what KK is doing is KK is telling Ellie to sort of sweet talk Eddie, the security guard, and talk kind of convince him that, hey, Diddy really likes you, man. They had a lot of fun. Yeah, Diddy really like to try and You know what I mean? To try and manipulate the security. Go, oh, Diddy's my friend. Okay. It says he wants to speak to the Spanish security guard. Say that they had fun. Say that they had a fun drunk night together just to try and get more info. KK texted her. She responded, LOL. No shot. They aren't playing nice. So Diddy's assistant is there at the hotel trying to work security and trying to get this whole thing swept under the rug. KK is like, tell him Diddy wants to be friends. Tell him this, that. Ellie, the assistant, is like, yeah, KK, that shit ain't flying. They are not playing nice. They are not. That's why it took $100,000. Took $100,000 to get him to play nice. LOL, no shot. They're not playing nice. All right, now 6 to 7 o'clock, evening hour, 6 to 7 o'clock on the day that Cassie got beat up. 6 to 7 p.m. Combs and his former security guard D-Rock each called Cassie several times, with most of the calls being answered. All right, so she's answering. So between 6 and 7, they're calling. She's answering. At 6:55, Carrie Morgan, remember she's Cassie's friend, model friend. Carrie Morgan texted KK a picture of a business card from the LAPD and said, quote, I don't think anyone should call her. All right, so you get what's happening there? Get what's happening there? So at 6:55, Carrie Morgan, who is Cassie's friend, who is with Cassie, at 6:55, Carrie Morgan takes a picture of a Los Angeles Police Department business card, suggesting that they're speaking to a detective at this very moment, takes a picture and sends it to KK and says, I don't think anyone should call her. So the suggestion from Cassie's side to Team Diddy in this moment is, fuck you, we're talking to the police. Whoo. At 6:55, Carrie Morgan texted KK a picture of a business card from the LAPD and said, I don't think anyone should call her. KK asked if she could call Morgan. Can I call you? Like that got a response. Can I call you? We need to talk. If you're talking to the police, we need to get out in front of this. KK asked if she could call Morgan. It says here, she was looking for anyone to say the wrong thing so she can call domestic abuse, Morgan wrote, later saying, Cass, as in Cassie, Cass just asked me to send you that. Okay, so what Carrie Morgan is saying is she's telling KK, look, she's on the fucking edge. Say the wrong thing. Say the wrong thing and she will claim domestic abuse. That's what Carrie Morgan is telling KK in this moment. That's why we sent you the picture of the cop card. And then she added, Cassie wanted me to send that to you. I'm sending this for Cassie. She didn't want to talk to you. All right, once again, Cass just asked me to send that to you, says Carrie Morgan. I don't think anyone should call her. She sends a picture of the LA police. She's talking to the police. She was looking for anyone to say the wrong thing so that she can call domestic abuse, Morgan wrote, later saying to KK, Cass just asked me to send you that. At 7 p.m., Ventura answered a call from D-Rock, 6:55. Team Diddy gets the picture of the police card. Team Diddy's like, oh shit, she's talking to cops, 6:55. 7 o'clock, D-Rock calls. Hey girl, just thinking about you. No, he's been told to call her. Sometimes she picks up when D-Rock calls. So D-Rock's now calling at 7. And Ventura answered. Ventura then answered a call from D-Rock and 2 following calls from Christina Karam, KK. At 9:55 p.m., KK texted Ellie Maroon. Remember, Ellie is the assistant who was working the security at the hotel. At 9:55, KK texted Maroon, did you get security's number? Diddy is asking. Remember, Ellie's job was to sweet talk the security guard. Now, the boss man was saying, I ain't playing nice. But Christina Karam thought that maybe there was a way that they could sweet talk Eddie Garcia. She wanted him to get his number. Remember we talked about this when Eddie was on the stand. Eddie talked about how Diddy would call him. He called me on Easter morning. He was like, hey, man, I just wanted to say you're my angel, right? So there was this whole plan in place to sort of seduce Eddie Garcia. And it started right here. Did you get security's number? Diddy is asking. Diddy wants to call him. To which Ellie Maroon responds, he wouldn't give it to me. So Eddie Garcia apparently was a tough nut to crack in the beginning. He wouldn't give it to her. All right, that's it. That's 10 o'clock at night. That's the day. The next morning, 2 photos were recovered from Ventura's device. 2 photos that were taken. So the jury saw pictures that were taken from Cassie's phone the next morning at 7:09. One of the photos appeared to be a picture of 2 men, and the other showed someone sitting on a couch. So at 7:09, for some reason, Cassie took a picture on her phone of these men sitting in her house at 7:09. Okay, what does that mean? I don't know. 9:32, Combs text D-Rock, how is she? All right, get it? So now we know that picture. They can't tell who the people in the pictures are, but Cassie took a picture of D-Rock over at her house at 7:09. D-Rock shows up first thing in the morning the next day to try and get FaceTime with Cassie. And I don't know if she was just thinking ahead, like, I'm going to document this, and she just takes a weird, fuzzy, out of frame picture of it or whatever. But the jury saw that there were these men sitting there, and then, oh, look, a half hour later, D-Rock gets a call from Diddy where Diddy is suggesting that D-Rock is with Cassie. So we know those men were Diddy's security team. He sent them over there first thing in the morning. 9:32 a.m., Combs texts D-Rock, how is she? D-Rock text back, she's okay. She's eating breakfast. Her face don't look too bad. She's good. D-Rock wrote, D-Rock said that Ventura was smiling and laughing and suggested Combs call her or call the house. I don't know what that means. All right. So that's it. So as quickly as the next day, she's allowing Diddy security in. She's laughing. She's having breakfast, big fights. She would stay with him for a while. Then the jury, following that, the jury got to watch 10 minutes of explicit freak-off video. It says here, the jury watches freak-off video. They watched portions of videos that were recorded on December 4th, 2014. All of the videos are sealed because they are sexually explicit. A current video clip being shown to the jury is viewing. It's almost 4 minutes long. At this point, the jury has watched more than 15 minutes of sexually explicit videos. I mean, that's rough. I don't know. 50, you're all jacked up. You're on the jury. You're all horned up, making you watch porno. You're watching porn. It's got to be like an extra kind of fetishy kind of turn on for some people, right? Because you're watching now porno of these women that you've seen on the witness stand in their best clothes, looking really good. And now you're watching them get real freak. I don't know. I just thought that was weird. I thought it was weird. I don't know that the jury necessarily needs to see the porn, but okay, they got to see 15 minutes of Jane and Cassie freak-off porn. Which means they also, you would think, saw Diddy playing with himself, but maybe not, because Diddy with the phone, right? Diddy was filming it, so maybe not. All right, guys, that's about it. There was cross-examination of Penland by Tenny Garagos. Didn't take all that long. There wasn't all that much that they did there. They made the agent who was creating the timeline. They made her address some things that she left out of the timeline, things that were not, in the prosecution's best interest. So Tenny Garagos got up, and in her cross-examination of Agent Penland, she basically said, oh, what about this text? You didn't mention this one. And it's, text where Cassie's like, I love freak-offs, stuff like that. So that was basically what the whole cross of Agent, what was her name? Agent Penland. I'm sorry. There you go. What else do we have here? Let's see. Was there anything else really? I think that's it, guys. That's about it. All right. That's about it for today. We got a really detailed rundown of the actual fight day. And again, what we're going to be looking forward to here is, a quick wrap up to this thing. It looks like this thing is wrapping up because the defense is about to take control. The prosecution is going to wrap up by Friday, they said. The defense is going to have the stick on Monday. And they don't really have a whole lot to do. They've got 3 witnesses, and I mean, in a perfect world, this thing could be over a week from Friday. I mean, in a perfect world, I don't mean over, I mean to the jury. So let's hope that's the case. All right, folks, once again, like, follow, subscribe, Diddy or Didn't He here on Radio Misfits. We do it every single day that the court is in session. Again, there will not be a show on Thursday as court is not in session on Thursday. We got a show for you tomorrow, and then we'll be back on Friday. And then, boy, oh boy, let's roll it up. It's time for the defense. I am Pugs Moran. Like, follow, subscribe, do all of that good stuff. If you want to watch the video aspect of this, you can go to Radio Misfits on YouTube. You can watch it there. If not, just check us out on Radio Misfits. Folks, once again, Pugs Moran, Diddy or Didn't He, RadioMisfits.com. See you tomorrow.